On the 23rd of June 2021, the rock world was shocked to hear that Blink-182's frontman Mark Hoppus had been diagnosed with stage 4 lymphoma cancer. Through a story on Instagram, he announced he was about to have his first round of chemotherapy. While he intended to update only his close friends and family, he accidentally made the story public for his millions of followers. Embracing the fact his fans were now aware of his diagnosis, Mark started live streaming on twitch.tv and gave occasional updates on his health.
Am I getting better? I don't know. I'll find out in about 6 weeks if I'm getting better. We'll see. Keep your fingers crossed for a guy.
The news of Mark Hoppus's diagnosis deeply shocked former bandmate Tom DeLonge, waking him up to the fragility of life. It became crucial for him to set aside past differences. However, Mark's prognosis was still uncertain. Miraculously, after 6 rounds of chemotherapy, Mark Hoppus was declared cancer-free in September of that same year, and what would follow is perhaps the greatest band reunion in years. To fully understand the significance of Blink-182's recent revival, we need to rewind the clock and look back at the band's tumultuous history. Blink-182 is an iconic American punk rock band, formed in August 1992 by 16-year-old high school expellee Tom DeLonge. After attending another high school for 1 semester, Tom was introduced to 14-year-old drummer Scott Rayner at a Battle of the Bands contest. It wasn't until the pair befriended punk rock enthusiast Kerry Key that they met their future frontliner, 20-year-old Mark Hoppus, who was dating Key's sister at the time. By 1993, Blink had scraped enough money together to start recording music professionally. One of the earliest tracks they recorded, Sometimes, showcased the raw punk energy that would define their early sound. It laid the foundation for their debut album, Cheshire Cat. The album failed to reach mainstream music, but Blink was starting to get noticed internationally in the punk scene. On the 17th of June 1997, Blink-182's second album, Dude Ranch, came out. While the band had not yet achieved stardom, their touring schedule was intense. The constant and exhausting performances became too draining for drummer Scott Rayner, leading him to develop an unhealthy relationship with alcohol. The tension reached a breaking point when Scott's struggles with alcohol started affecting his reliability on tour, with missed rehearsals and inconsistent performances on stage. This ultimately resulted in Rayner being kicked out of the band. While Scott Rayner was angry at the time, he later agreed that it was the right decision to let me go. Travis Barker proved to be the perfect replacement for Rayner. He learned all of Blink-182's songs in less than 45 minutes, which meant the band didn't have to cancel any upcoming shows. While being a substitute at first, his amazing performance for the band eventually led Travis Barker to officially join Blink-182. The new millennium was quickly approaching, and the band still hadn't broken out of the underground music scene despite being active for the past 7 years. But that would all change once they got involved with veteran punk rock producer Jerry Finn. Finn produced Blink-182's third studio album, Enema of the State, in 1999, and the record was a massive commercial success. 15.3 million copies were sold worldwide, and the trio had officially skyrocketed into mainstream music, with millions of adoring fans singing along to tracks like All the Small Things.
All the small things, true care, truth brings.
And then there is Adam's Song, an emotional single written by Mark when he was going through a depressive period in his life.
Never thought I'd die alone. I laughed the loudest, who'd have known.
Adam's Song, at the heart of the song, is about having hard times in your life, being depressed and going through a difficult period, but then finding strength to go on and finding a better place on the other side of that.
The band continued to build their popularity with more albums, but Tom DeLonge began to feel constrained by their label's demands to stick to the sound that had made them successful.
I've been doing at that point 5 or 6 records that were all that kind of similar sound. We were exhausted, we were overworked, we needed space from each other. I think out of insecurity, I sensed that musically there was cooler things that we could do.
Wanting to explore darker musical ideas, DeLonge launched a side project in 2001 called Boxcar Racer. While Travis Barker joined as a drummer, DeLonge left Mark Hoppus out, despite him being interested in taking part in the project. DeLonge feared the songs would become too similar to the sound of Blink-182. This decision left Hoppus feeling betrayed, creating tensions that resurfaced when the band tried to return to writing songs together. By 2005, these tensions reached a breaking point, and DeLonge decided to leave Blink-182 altogether to form his own band, Angels and Airwaves. Mark Hoppus and Travis Barker subsequently started their own side project called Plus 44. From this point, it became uncertain whether Blink-182 would ever see a future. This all changed when, on September 19, 2008, Travis Barker narrowly escaped death. On this particular day, Barker boarded a small aircraft alongside 2 pilots, his security guard, his personal assistant, and his close friend Adam Goldstein. The group was scheduled to fly from South Carolina to California, but the plane never managed to lift off properly due to a tire puncture. It ran out of runway space, crashed through a fence, and erupted into flames.
And I just basically braced for impact every time. The plane basically would go up in the air, and then it would crash down and hit the ground. And then it would come up, and then it would crash down and hit the ground. And every time we hit the ground, the flames and the smoke would get bigger. And towards before the last impact, the plane was completely on fire. And I was honestly just waiting for lights out.
Of the 6 people on board, only Travis Barker and Adam Goldstein survived. The crash left Barker with severe burns on more than 65% of his body, and he faced a long, painful recovery. Haunted by the tragedy, Barker developed a fear of flying, avoiding planes for over 13 years. It wasn't until 2021 that he found the courage to fly again. The near-fatal accident prompted Tom DeLonge to reach out and reconcile with his ex-bandmates. His reunion with the band was formally announced at the February 2009 Grammy Awards.
We took a break for a little bit. I think when Travis had the event happen to him, it was something that really pulled us back together.
Blink-182 is back!
With the band back together in 2009, Blink-182 began working on their 6th studio album, Neighborhoods, released in 2011. On this album, the band embraced their creative differences instead of resisting them, resulting in perhaps the most experimental Blink album to date. Darker themes are prevalent throughout.
This record is really dark. The lyrical content of it is really dark. It talks about depression, it talks about anxiety, it talks about loss of friends.
Perhaps the album's greatest example of this is the song Ghost on the Dance Floor. The song is speculated to be about the struggle for Travis Barker in coming to terms with the passing of his close friend, Adam Goldstein. Although Goldstein initially survived the plane crash alongside Barker, he tragically passed away a year later from an accidental drug overdose. After the album's release, the band was back on good terms, but slowly, new tensions about conflicting visions crept back in, reaching a pinnacle by 2015. The result? Tom DeLonge left Blink-182 once more. This time, however, Mark and Travis wanted the band to continue. Tom's vital role was replaced by Matt Skiba, a member of Alkaline Trio. For the upcoming years, this would be the new Blink-182. But doubts about fans ever liking their new work without the original lineup arose. It's no wonder the opening track of their 2016 album, California, starts with the following.
There's a cynical feeling saying I should give up. You said everything you'll ever say.
In the lyrics, Mark is having an inner monologue, worried about ever writing a song that his fans will like, now that the band is no longer the same. And surely, with the release of their 2016 album, the opinion of the fanbase was divided. Some criticised the band for continuing under the Blink-182 name without Tom DeLonge. However, their first single without him, Bored to Death, achieved significant commercial success. Despite the band's insecurities, many fans embraced Blink-182's evolving sound, believing that Matt Skiba's voice fit the band well. The new lineup toured extensively and even released a second album in 2019. However, just 2 years later, Mark Hoppus was diagnosed with cancer. Just like with the 2008 plane crash, Mark's shock cancer diagnosis prompted Tom DeLonge to return to Blink-182.
When Mark got sick, it's similar when Travis had his accident back in the day. Nothing matters, really. Everything that's just dumb, peripheral, it's all petty when you have real human things happen. So I remember sitting with Mark at his house, and it was just very much like, you're sick, we're gonna get you through this, and we're gonna make the best music we ever made. Let's do it.
The reunion was officially announced in October 2022, alongside promises of a new album. Matt Skiba was out of the picture at this point, having agreed to leave the band so Tom could take his place. With Mark Hoppus recovered, the group got back in the studio to record their next album, One More Time, which is perhaps the most emotional album to date.
One More Time is kind of written about that as like, why does it take these catastrophes like me being in a plane crash or Mark being sick for our band to get back together?
The title track pays homage to Barker's 2008 plane crash and Hoppus's cancer, with the following lyrics.
It shouldn't take a sickness or airplanes falling out the sky.
When the band started touring again in the spring of 2023, Hoppus began opening up to the audience about how his illness had affected his personal life. Keep in mind that the speech you're about to watch was given moments before performing their melancholic Adams song.
I wrote this next song when I was at a point in my life when I didn't think that I wanted to keep going, and this song saved my life. And then a couple of years ago, I found myself in the same position, not knowing if I would keep going on, but this time it wasn't by choice. I was diagnosed with stage 4 lymphoma cancer, and I was undergoing chemotherapy. And then I accidentally posted it on my Instagram, and the amazing outpouring of love and support from complete strangers on the internet and around the world fucking got me through a really hard time.
Blink-182's journey has been a rollercoaster of highs, lows, and personal tragedies, but their resilience remains undeniable. Through lineup changes, Travis Barker's plane crash, and Mark Hoppus' battle with cancer, they've continually found a way to come back stronger. With Tom DeLonge rejoining in 2022 and the release of their emotional album, One More Time, it's clear their journey is far from over. Thank you for watching. If you'd like to see more videos like this, consider subscribing to our YouTube channel.